warm welcome to Eco India, a sustainability magazine that zooms in on solutions to some of the biggest problems affecting the environment today. Every week, we introduce you to change makers who are working hard to move the needle at the grassroots. I'm Sanuta Raghu, coming to you from New Delhi. Over the next 30 minutes, how a police officer in Mumbai rescues wild snakes who stray into city limits, why school children in Gujarat are learning about green practices, and how off-the-grid citizens in Bangladesh are embracing solar power. But first, let's look at an issue that augments with more and more urbanization. Mumbai has a wide variety of wildlife within city limits, owing largely to the existence of a national park right at its heart. Many times they wander into residential areas, and what follows is fear and panic at both ends. But a police officer in the city is working overtime to find the middle ground. Here's his story.
Mumbai is a rapidly growing metropolis, home to nearly 20 million people. It is also one of the few cities in the world with a variety of wildlife within its boundaries. But conflict between humans and animals is only increasing. Murlidhar Jadhav has made it his mission to mitigate this conflict. He's the one people call when anyone finds a snake in a densely populated area. He has a special understanding of these reptiles and seems almost fearless. Of course, we're scared of them, but in reality, they're 10 times more scared of us because we're encroaching on their habitat. Jadhav is a constable with the Mumbai police. Alongside those duties, he's also the city's go-to snake rescuer. At his desk in the South Region Control Room, his phone constantly rings with calls from anxious residents.
नमस्कार पोलीस कंट्रोल हो साप घरामध्ये का ॲड्रेस सांगा साप पकडण्यासाठी कॉल आल्यानंतर तर पहिल्यांदा भीती
When a call comes in, I'm always concerned, worried that the snake will be attacked or killed by frightened residents, or that the residents could be in danger because of the frightened animal. I advise them to keep an eye on the snake and to keep their distance.
लक्ष ठेवा आणि एक अंतर बनवून ठेवा ज्यामुळे होणारा अपघात टाळता येईल.
Jadhav received a call from a family in the south of the city. They saw a snake in their home. Jadhav wants to help the family and the snake too. The reptile is in the kitchen. It's a common spot for snakes, which often enter through pipes in search of food. Some species are attracted to the odor of meat or dairy products. This is a rat snake. It's not venomous, but is large enough to frighten the family. The police constable uses tongs to pull the snake out of its hiding spot. Then the snake is safely bagged. The entire procedure can take hours and always requires a highly trained hand. The snake is then released into Sanjay Gandhi National Park. Forest Department officers make a record of the release. Murlidhar Jadhav has rescued more than 3,000 snakes so far. For cultural reasons though, not everyone looks favorably on his rescue work. Snakes symbolize death in our culture. But that isn't really accurate. When I was a boy and used to rescue snakes, that worried my parents.
मोस्टली माझ्या आई-वडिलांना खूप
It
दुःख
made my
व्हायचं,
mother
आई
cry, and my
ओरडायचे,
father
स्वयं
used to try to
समजवायचे.
make me
पण
understand.
यामध्ये माझा मोठा भाऊ
But my brother was studying science and knew a bit about the topic. He asked me to learn the proper technique for catching snakes. When people who had been bitten by a snake came home, I would identify what species it was, whether it was venomous or not. Then I treated the person and took them to hospital.
व्हेनमस नॉन व्हेनमस स्नेक बाईट ओळखून आम्ही फर्स्ट एड करून ज्यावेळेस दवाखान्यामध्ये शिफ्ट करायला लागलो तेव्हाही घरच्यांना कुठं कळालं की
That's when my parents understood what I was doing. People even started praising me.
पकडण्याबद्दल गैरसमज होता तो पूर्णतः निघला.
45 species of snake can be found within the city limits of Mumbai. It is the unofficial snake capital of the state of Maharashtra. The state recorded the largest number of snake bites last year. Of the more than 100,000 snake bites recorded in India last year, 21% were in Maharashtra. Nonetheless, Mumbai does not have enough trained snake rescuers. Jadav's skills are a valuable asset to his police division. Along with protecting citizens and fighting terrorism, this is also one of the duties of a police officer. We are fortunate that we have skilled people like Murlidhar who can carry out this duty.
Skilled लोक आहेत की जे ते काम करत आहेत.
Over the last 40 years, Mumbai has lost some 60% of its tree cover. In terms of urban sprawl, it is India's most rapidly expanding city. Experts say that technological interventions, such as wildlife overpasses that would allow animals to cross an area without running into traffic, are urgently needed.
Human beings have virtually dominated this planet, mostly forcibly. So any intervention that we make, any infrastructure that we add is going to have an impact, mostly negative, on the environment. But the technology now allows us to make sure that because of those solutions, you will not shortchange wildlife in the name of development. So it will provide us a win-win for both development and conservation. Today, because this is a nascent stage, we don't know, but I'm sure in 50 years from now, if the right steps are taken, several of our species which otherwise would have got wiped out would still be roaming and probably will be doing better than they are doing today.
While institutional and large-scale infrastructure changes could take years to be implemented, grassroots efforts such as Jadav's are already making a difference today. People ask me how I catch snakes. I don't play with them like a snake charmer. I care for their well-being.
Moving north from Mumbai to the state of Gujarat, the government's Green Schools initiative is giving students hands-on experience in understanding the environment better. Students learn about segregating waste, monitoring water and air quality, nurturing plants, animals and birds, and much more, all through simple classroom experiments.
It will rain soon, and these children in a school in the West Indian state of Gujarat want to collect the water. Using an innovative method, they want to help protect the trees. The rain will fall on the leaves and slide off into this sand pit. Sand is porous, and so the water will seep down to the roots. Gujarat's Green School program aims to make 5,000 government schools green by 2020. Eco-topics are an integral part of the curriculum. The program is partly funded by the World Bank. The green schools want to inspire children to bond with nature. The hope is they learn the value of conserving biodiversity.
We have 270 types to different species and 10,000 small plants in our nursery.
Every morning, the children bring some seeds from home to feed the birds that roost in the trees. At the Kanodar school, an energy team monitors readings of the school's electricity consumption, while a water team checks fluoride levels in the drinking water. If the fluoride level is up to 1.5 milligrams per liter, then the water is safe. Students learn to monitor their environment and implement simple solutions to protect it. They develop a hands-on understanding of the basic concepts of maths and science. These ventilators don't need electricity. All they need to rotate is a decent breeze. They help tackle humidity, smell, and heat. Hot air rises and escapes through the ventilator, while cooler air rushes in to take its place. So we don't need to switch on either the fans or the lights. The young students also learn how buildings can be constructed to make optimal use of natural light and ventilation. They've also found a way to get more fresh air for their school. In our school, we have 371 students and 11 teachers. So we need 100,800 liters of oxygen to be generated on our campus every day. That's why we have planted leafy trees with large canopies and increased the number of plants on our campus. Till a year ago, it was difficult to explain certain concepts to the children. Now that we have the Green Schools program, they also get practical, hands-on experience. The children take these lessons home as well, teaching their parents to become more environmentally conscious. When these children have grown up, their behavior will be exemplary and different from the norm. For they have a clear idea of air, energy, earth, buildings, and how we can responsibly interact with them. The Green Schools program is helping create a new generation of children who respect and protect the environment.
From curious children to conscientious adults, there's no dearth of citizens who want to make a difference for a sustainable future. Our next story is about an entrepreneur who's upcycling used tires into swanky new furniture. Take a look.
Anu Tandon has been a designer for over 3 decades. The idea for her latest calling, fashioning furniture out of upcycled material, came to her while contemplating on the need to give something back to our planet.
It came sort of very easily that it had to be something that I hadn't been able to do till now. I've been a designer for 30 years. And what is it in design that really attracts me or really sort of inspires me? Answers were quite simple. It was very easily that craftsmen are people who I really feel inspired by.
For the last 6 years, Anu has been working with a group of craftspeople making furniture out of material that is typically discarded, like old tires, leftover textiles, and plastic wrappers.
Being in Bombay, you come across a lot of small industries and small, medium industries mostly, which throw out a lot of waste. So my whole thing was that I would make a product using material that had been used for or meant for some other purpose, but the quality of the design and the colors and the detail would be the best that you could find. I would use material like tires, which are not roadworthy. So a tire is something that has a very, very strong structure. We use it for a very small fraction of its life, and after that it's thrown away. But the whole tire as is, to use it as a piece of furniture is something that we do. So we use the tire, we use it to, as the base for weaving over it. The weaving is done in textile waste.
Anu's efforts are also driven by a desire to provide a secure and sustainable livelihood for her craftsmen, who are skilled in traditions like hand weaving, hand printing, and basketry. Most come here from rural areas to make a living.
In most cases, they are not equipped. They are not educated. They are not skilled in terms of current designs. They have to compete with trendier designs from China or Southeast Asia. So a lot of these things come in the way of them making a good living.
One of the biggest challenges for Anu Tandon was finding enough buyers. Once people realized that the products were made of waste material, they wanted to pay lower prices without seeing the hard work and effort that go into making such items. The craftsmen need up to 10 days to complete these artistic pieces of furniture. And their work makes a real difference to the environment.
Shifting focus now, Bangladesh is a densely populated country, and yet around 17 million people are still not connected to the national grid. A German startup is trying to change that by enabling families to switch to solar power and even helping those who can't afford the panels. Our reporter traveled to a village where residents are eagerly waiting to light up their homes.
These cables are in great demand. The national electricity grid in Bangladesh doesn't extend to the island of Rangabali on the Bay of Bengal. Many vendors at the market here have solar panels. A company called SoulShare wants to network these individual units to create a local grid that will supply the entire market of the village of Mola Bazar.
We need to find out where the densely populated solar home systems are installed, and then only possible to make a grid connecting the neighboring swans. So yes, we need to look into many things and the feasibility of the technological setup. Then, of course, we can move.
For the business owners here, a local mini-grid would have a lot of advantages. They'd be able to connect their solar units to the grid and sell any excess electricity, or buy electricity from a neighbor. The company has developed an electricity meter that enables peer-to-peer electricity trading in a smart grid system. Called a Soulbox, it also helps local businessmen expand their operation. For example, the local barber.
Now I can stay open when it gets dark. But I need an electric hair trimmer so I can serve even more customers.
Soon, 150 businesses will be connected to the peer-to-peer grid. But the potential market is even bigger than that. Bangladesh has the most private solar systems of anywhere in the world, more than 4 million of them. The Soulbox is manufactured in Bangladesh. The startup isn't turning a profit yet, but it's won over major supporters, including the Asian Development Bank and Germany's GIZ Development Agency. The boss, Sebastian Groh, is German and a former investment banker.
We haven't always been here. We started out in Stanford, California, then moved to Berlin, but that wasn't the right fit. This is where we had our breakthrough. When you make something and then see it being used right away at the very same location, see what people are doing with it and that it works, it's twice as nice, because you can see what you've accomplished.
Groh's company is now based in Dhaka. He's learned how businesses operate in Bangladesh and learned enough Bengali to get by day to day. The problem is that people or companies that feed energy into Bangladesh's national grid aren't paid for that surplus power. The government is also promoting the use of nuclear power. Not much is happening on the traffic front either.
Everything's close together here. The distances aren't that great, so Bangladesh is just right for electromobility.
SoulShare is also planning another pilot project. This one will offer solar charging stations for the battery rickshaw drivers in the country. There are about 800,000 of them. The plan is to have local microgrids sell their excess energy to the charging stations.
At each rickshaw, this kind of plug?
unified. Oh, excellent.
Our goal is to help develop rural areas. Energy trading is already helping with that, and it's helped boost efficiency. Local people are trading energy, and allocation is improving. But we also need to bring money from outside into the villages. When the rickshaw drivers come into the villages, they bring entirely new opportunities for development with them.
Bedeutet das natürlich, dass das ganze Dorf einen anderen Entwicklungspartner hat.
Bangladesh is one of the world's poorest countries. More than 1,000 rivers make developing infrastructure difficult. We're back on Rangabali Island, which is only accessible by ferry. Next to roads, utility poles are lying on the ground, unused. It's a common sight. 17 million households are too isolated to be connected to the national grid. In the village of Mullar Bazar, the shops are open late into the evening, thanks in part to the new local energy grid.
Now, well over 40 million tons of e-waste is generated every year. And the burgeoning personal electronics market is only adding to this number. Many of these contain toxic chemicals which could pose a huge threat if not disposed of properly. One German company is on the case. Take a look.
One man's trash is another man's treasure. Dominik Lochmann runs a business that deals in precious metals. The entrepreneur buys up old computer circuit boards. Contained within the thousands of discarded electronic parts, he mines for copper, silver and gold.
The processors are the most valuable thing in electronic waste. A full dumpster may contain about 60,000 euros worth of precious metals.
The waste comes from Germany and its neighbouring countries. Dominik Lochmann maintains close contact with his suppliers. To ensure profitability, he needs large quantities of electronic waste.
Each of the electronic components contains just a couple of milligrams of precious metal. That means you have to recycle tons of e-waste to get any worthwhile amount of silver, gold, or palladium.
One of his business partners is the firm CR Recycling. It specializes in recycling electronics in an environmentally friendly fashion. Germany has very strict standards for this. The first step is to sort the scrap: plastic, sheet metal, cables. Almost all of it can be separated and recycled. It's the higher quality electronic devices, such as mobile phones and computers, however, that are the real gold mine.
This is your typical computer motherboard. The battery has to be taken out so that nothing happens during the shredding or smelting process. We're then looking at about €1.50 per kilo. Is that right, Mr. Hasenmeyer? That's about right. Here we have a good plug-in board with nice gold-plated parts and without any contaminants. Here we're looking at about €2.80 per kilo.
That's why it's cost-effective for the company to dismantle the computers by hand. Cables, housings and circuit boards are carefully sorted. Old tube televisions and monitors are less valuable, even though the shielded cables are full of copper wire. But they also contain toxic elements such as lead and cadmium. In Germany, these must be disposed of properly so they don't end up in the drinking water. Small shredders are used specifically for hard drives that contain data that customers want destroyed. Specialized facilities take care of the masses of material. Later, copper smelters separate the metal fragments and melt down the shredded material.
It's a global market. That's why the disassembly can be done worldwide, as well as the flow of materials and the processing.
Dominik Lochmann carefully inspects the incoming goods. He pays suppliers by the weight of the delivery and the current price of raw materials. His trading partners can check the company website for updates on quality and prices. And there's no end to the supply. More than 40 million tonnes of e-waste are generated every year. Recycling it doesn't only save money, it helps protect the environment and preserve natural resources.
I hope you enjoyed today's show and had many takeaways from it. We'll be back next week with many more stories of people making a difference for a sustainable future. Goodbye and have a wonderful week.